I got up today somewhere between 11:30 in the morning and 1 p.m. in the afternoon. I'm not sure of the exact time, but I would put the time I got up closer to 11:30 in the morning than to 1:30 in the afternoon, because I spent hours working on a landscape styrofoam drawing, which is what I call a styrofoam drawing, in which I draw a place more than a person, which I believe is considered a portrait, even if you don't draw anyone in particular. Yeah, my idea for this landscape styrofoam drawing was to do a tree house against a sky that was colored using a shade of gray in order to symbolize an overcast sky. And while doing that, I took the hill I created and used a dark green ultrafine tip to add grass detail. I believe I used a brown ultrafine tip, Sharpie marker, to add plank details on the tree house, and then for the tree itself, I added bark details using a black ultrafine marker. On the top side, I drew a Cessna that was mostly white, except for being blue in the middle horizontally, and then having the tip of its wings blue. At that scale, I couldn't really do text, but I did attempt it. Though I had so little space, I basically had to make representations of that text. I believe that Cessna side was the last side I finished before Mom had some chicken and a baked potato she prepared. With butter on it, and then I put sour cream on it. ready for the main meal. It was around 5 p.m. because she would go somewhere around 7 p.m. And then I think she came back around 9 to 9:30 p.m. because she then helped someone. She went to Bathtub Billy's, or as it's now called, BTB's. And during that time, I finished the styrofoam drawing I continued working on today around 8:45 p.m. if I recall correctly. And I would have finished it maybe an hour or two earlier, but the last side I finished was the back side with that depression, and because of it, I couldn't really do that much, though on the back I did draw a stick figure on a bench feeding ducks, and then a depiction of a baseball game. I did the sides of the styrofoam drawing before I did the top side, if I remember correctly. On the left side, I basically just did a continuation of that tree. Same for the top side with that Cessna a little bit. I didn't have much room to work with, so I just drew a stick figure standing to the left of that tree. And then on the right side, that was where the broken or uneven end was, so for fear of making it flake off, all I really did was just color that side in with that shade of gray I used to represent the sky. When I was done with the styrofoam drawing, I drew in the engraving using a darker shade of gray to represent clouds. Weirdly shaped clouds, because it's possible for clouds to be shaped like numbers and slashes to separate the day from the year. Although I didn't use the darker shade of gray to represent clouds on any other side of the styrofoam drawing. I guess I wanted to be more simple with that particular styrofoam drawing. Maybe allow the natural contours of applying Sharpie marker to color be reflected in that way. On the bottom side, I did a pond, and that a pond with stones, rocks on the perimeter of that pond, and inside the pond were water lilies and lily pads. And on the top perimeter of the pond, I drew these narcissus flowers that lean toward their reflection in the pond. Though I had flowers that leaned to the left be right next to flowers that leaned to the right. I'm not entirely sure if that's an accurate depiction of those flowers, but that's what I did. After the 5 p.m. meal, Mom and I did some looking around in the basement for the power cord to our Wii, which is currently in the living room, because I want to start playing on the Wii again. Somewhere I have this Star Wars game that's a combat game that last time I played it many years ago, I got in such a good workout that after a round, Mom said I looked like I had been in a war, or that I looked like I had been in a war. I don't recall seeing that Wii game in the black ottoman that turns out was under that table where all my old completed and varying degrees of uncompleted Lego sets were. As well as a World War I poster I did, I think, as a school project years ago. Obviously, I didn't look very hard for that Star Wars game. What was more important was finding that that Wii power cord. We couldn't really find that, but we did find a old photo album that was full of photos of when I was a child. I think as young as 6 years old. In some of them, and I have a feeling that I once uploaded some of those particular photos onto my YouTube channel as part of a video I did, some videos I did back in 2013. Or at least that's the feeling I got. During that brief look Mom created of me of the photo album. In that black ottoman were also PlayStation 2 games and PlayStation PvP Vita games. Though I have no idea where the PlayStation 2 is at. It could be in that cabinet under that big bulky TV that was our old living room TV years ago. But there's clutter in the way, so I can't really look into the cabinet fully. And then so we did at one point find a controller for at least the PlayStation. And I have no idea where the PlayStation PvP is. And we found the case for it, and it turned out to be completely empty. I also had thoughts of looking for styrofoam again, or polystyrene. So I made brief attempts because that is something I think about every single time I go into the basement, because I have found styrofoam there in the past. While working on today's styrofoam drawing, I poked myself in this thumb again, this time with a fine-tipped green, light green Sharpie marker. Luckily, it wasn't hard enough to draw blood. I just washed it in the sink. And put on soap to ensure no infection. And then later today, around 8 p.m., I went on the Discord server for Rapper Offline to see if they had figured out a way to fix the VoiceForge voices on Wrapper Offline because VoiceForge changed their API. Of which I'm not even aware of what API stands for. Probably stands for something, though. I imagine the A stands for algorithm. Oh. I think it stands for algorithm programming information. Or at least that's my best guess. But no. The VoiceForge voices haven't been fixed yet. I mean, I can get that VoiceForge voice designer Dave through BlueStacks 5, but it sounds different if I get it off of that Android emulator than if I get it off through Wrapper Offline. So I would like to ultimately get it through Wrapper Offline in order to keep things consistent. And also because it sounds better to me through Wrapper Offline than through BlueStacks 5. And Wrapper Offline is how I got all of the earlier voices. I just changed that line from our friend is returning with much food to he's returning with much food in order to remove a redundancy. At some point while searching through a dresser drawers in the basement, I got this little scrape. Luckily, no blood was drawn, but for this little scrape, I again put on soap and washed it in warm water to ensure no infection.